Synergy on Record with Joel Nascimento, episode 3, take 1.
There you go.
Welcome, everybody, to Synergy on Record's third episode today. Oh, God, I already messed up. Okay. Welcome, everybody, to Synergy on Record. This is our third episode. I'm Tawnya, Synergy Labs Marketing Manager, and today I'm joined by Joel Nascimento. Can you correct me and say it the way that it's supposed to be said before we move on?
Canadianize this Joel Nascimento.
And say it in Portuguese.
Joel Nascimento.
Thank you. Okay. So yes, I'm joined by Joel. He is the CEO of Kevares Autonomous Services. I'm super excited to have him here today. He's such a colorful storyteller and always a good chat. So we have some exciting things that we're going to chat about. And yeah, welcome.
My pleasure, my privilege.
Glad you're here. For those of you that may or may not know, Synergy Lab offices are actually in the Spark Center. So we are a co-working office space. We rent out offices to clients and to partners. And Joel typically is working right around the corner from where I am. So we run into each other quite often, usually in the kitchen. He likes to make tasty snacks, and it always comes along with a story as well. So you've been around since the beginning of when Synergy Lab started, and you're always in the office.
It's almost 5 years now.
Almost 5 years. Crazy. The one thing I will say is I love having you around the office because you're such a positive energy.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thank you.
I just love it. You're just a load of fun. And so you've been around for 5 years. You get to see Synergy Lab and Spark Center on the day-to-day. What's it like being an extension of the Synergy Lab and Spark family? You can be honest.
Yeah, I will. I depart in the assumption that we always must be, because it saves time. And time is the non-renewable resource ever. So in relationships especially. So it's a privilege to be part of Spark. When I was in Brazil figuring out where I would be expanding around the globe, I was first narrowing the country, then I decided Canada. Then obviously I started the search, surveying all the resources, incubators, what's the startup visa, all that stuff. And I came across many websites of incubators. And, with Spark happens and with Synergy happens a little bit with what happened to me with Canada, meaning that my experience after dealing with the country and dealing with Spark and Spark group of companies and Synergy is way beyond better than I could anticipate back in the day when I was surveying and searching. The same thing goes with Canada. It's an amazing country and amazing neighborhood. I wouldn't change or exchange by anything. That's by far, and that's very sincere.
Wow, what a great way to start the episode. That was such a good answer. Thank you.
No worries. It's for the art.
I love that. So before we dive too deep into the questions about your business and whatnot, I know that you're right in the midst of doing pitch presentations to a number of different places. Maybe you can give us your 1-minute pitch on Kevares and what it is that you guys do.
Absolutely. So here's go in all its glory and feathers, right? You don't see robots on the streets every day, do you? Our goal is to change that so that humanity can decarbonize operations faster and robots can work for communities good. We are Kevares. We fuse robots, artificial intelligence, and software into autonomous services that municipalities and private sector pay per use. Our product runaway includes sidewalk inspections, commercial in 2022, our first revenue generating service, and also has lawn mowing, litter collection, parking concierge with robots, and more. Company was launched in 2020. 2019 was incepted, but launched in 2020. Grew staff and grants in 2021. 2022 turned revenue generating. In 2023, we have a staff of 16. We just incorporated over 30 summer interns from London, Ontario, University of Toronto, and Brazil. Right now for May to August. And we are running right now our pre-seed round and about to launch our seed round in the second half of the year. and that's it.
Congratulations. That's a really good pitch. I learned something. I work with Joel regularly around the office, and I always see him in action, but it's nice to hear the official business pitch. Love it. So, admittedly, I don't have a ton of experience working with robots. It's not really my forte. As you know, I'm more into the marketing, creative stuff. Not that building robots isn't creative, holy cow. But I can't even wrap my head around the idea of building a robot. I've seen yours in action. That's pretty awesome. How long did it take you to, first of all, develop your first robot and then to get it to a point of where it is today?
First thing is, Kevares departs from a very simple assumption, and everything that's very complex you can deem as mature when it's easily articulated. Should be the same way with all pitches of all startups. It's quantum fusion. Must be simple, the outcome. You don't need to be an engineer to operate an iPhone, right?
Yeah.
So the same thing goes for robotics. So we depart from a very simple hypothesis or principle, which is, as of 2022, you already have some machines in terms of automated machines, robots. What is more important there is, therefore, to your question, to do the last mile, do the turnkey integration, because there are so many layers after you have the machine on your hand. So it's a kind of a waste of time for a startup, that's our hypothesis, to focus on just creating one machine vertically to the nuts and bolts. And instead, we are more focused on integrating many different machines from many different OEMs and developing the AI. That's a huge IP. Develop the software, develop the collaboration layer, all the things that turn that as a turnkey service that the company or the municipality doesn't buy the asset. They buy the service per use. So we basically eliminate the risk averse of robotics because they don't need to buy anything, they don't need to invest, they just pay by the use. If they like, they buy again. If they don't like, they don't buy. If they like that much, they can discuss another setup with us, and that's fine.
Yeah.
So to your question, sidewalk inspections is a service that aims at reducing 80% emissions of carbon emissions in the process of sidewalk inspections, eliminating 90% consumption of vehicles, saving 75% of labor, and doing the same process that in a given city like Oshawa with 700 kilometers of sidewalks takes 1 month, 4 to 8 staff, 4 pickup trucks. Half of the time, we are going to do that with just 1 or 2 robots and 2 people. That's the magnitude of what we are talking. To create this sort of service, now that you have the context, took 700 hours, 22 months, an average staff of 10 to 12 people.
Wow.
That's what it takes for one service.
One service.
Yes, and we are launching this year a second one that I can't talk on the record, but we are pursuing to demonstrate that in Kingston and to demonstrate that hopefully in Durham before the fall.
Awesome.
Second one, that one is no inspection. That one is effectively robots doing something into the environment.
Exciting.
Yeah.
Cool. I can't wait to hear more about that.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah.
Basically, robotics is 100x of whatever that you think of complexity of cloud software, for example.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not surprised to hear that. It's
hardware, takes AI.
Yeah.
For AI, you need to have data science, the data center, and you need to have the data set. You need to acquire things. I walk on the sidewalk with the robot. Otherwise, I cannot develop the service.
Yeah.
I need to talk to the people. Cloud software, you put the notebook on your laptop or laptop in your lap.
Yeah.
Get a mug, and then you code, and that's it.
Yeah. So very, very different.
Yeah.
What, out of curiosity, what led you to go down the path of starting a business that involved robots? Does this have anything to do with your career background, or?
I have a very varied career background, and I have worked with operations management, with field operations management for many years in mining, oil and gas, hardcore in the heavy asset industries, right? So, curiously enough, I arrived here in the first soft landing program that Spark and the still to be created Synergy, right, run back in 2018. And the company that was selected for that soft landing was my workflow software company.
Okay.
So after I arrived here, I invested some months learning with the support of Synergy and Spark about the ecosystem, understanding really what a startup business running would look like in Canada, right? And it was clear to me that, to run a startup company, you are in a market to commercialize something. What is that? It's not the product.
Yeah.
You're commercializing equity to basically grow through a public available investment market, right? So you need to be cognizant about what that market is looking. And obviously the venture capital and angels are not alone floating in the ether. They are in a country that puts money to research, puts grants forward. So when you try to have too much passion about your solution, so it's a kind of a very complicated space to run a startup business, because you need to be very passionate about solving problems, but you cannot get too much attached to your hypothesis of what the problem looks like.
Yeah.
You need to ask and get the truth from the customer. So in this case, thinking about venture engineering, it was clear to me that workflow would be less enticing and less appealing from a venture building journey than a robotics and autonomous vehicles program. And Spark is one of the recipients of electrification and autonomous vehicles program from the province since 2018. And because of that, it was very clear for me that I should focus, or I could potentially de-risk a lot the venture journey if focusing on that, and that paid off.
So prior to that happening, you didn't have any experience working with robots?
Robotics, no. With AI, yes.
Okay. Interesting. Cool.
But no robotics. I created the company. Kevares was entirely created in Canada. So I arrived here with one business that was Hermes platform, and still runs that business. And it was clear to me that Kevares or a robotics business would be an application of energy and venture building effort that would have a greater likelihood of generating exponential return. And that's so profound. It's very important. You cannot be in the middle. You need to pick a side. If you are Main Street business, the dynamics of a Main Street business is one thing. If you are trying to do startup business, can be cloud software, can be robotics, can be quantum fusion, you must be cognizant that you are in an exponential business, and you should, as much as possible, do exponential choices.
That's all awesome. Maybe this is a good time to kind of ask you, so you've created the business, and now what's next? What are the early days like after you've gotten to the point of deciding to start this new venture? What's it like?
You're wrong on the way you stated, because you do not create anything till you create the thing. So you have your idea, you are in inception stage.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
When things start to get material is when things are being created. So to that, the point is, it is, as everything in life, the first iteration, the first push to a furniture piece, the static friction is 10,000 times harder than the dynamic friction by physics, right? So same thing goes with business. To do the first tilt is just brutal. It's brutal. It's savage, especially in a new country. It's probably 10x, because you have the language barrier to a certain aspect. I didn't have that so much, but I obviously had it. But you lack connections. You are not in your backyard. You don't have your relatives, that uncle of yours that has money to be one of the first investors of your company. People don't get it. It's another currency, another exchange rate. So many factors come into play to just make a creation, the actual materialization, let's put that way, of venture in a foreign country as 10x or more harder. So the first days, you're really exposed. You're really like that small turtle, trying to depart from the shoreline to the sea and trying to escape from the crabs and all the other predators, so that eventually you get to the sea and you thrive, and if not eaten by someone in the early days, then you're going to have no predator whatsoever. So that's kind of the venture building journey. So if that the point being is, to be in a new ecosystem like the shoreline in this case, it's paramount, it's foundational to have an ecosystem partner that's not going to eat you, right? It's very important. People sometimes, as many things with humans, we tend to value too much matter. We tend to value too much appearance and jazziness. And we don't put value to humans. We don't put value to relationships. And environment you can manage. You can go to Mars right now with the technology that you have, and you can live there. You can live in a climatized chamber with the cold, with the heat, whatever. The only single resource that you don't manage is the human factor. So it's very important to choose what's the human ecosystem you're parachuting yourself, your ass in. So with that, in the first early days, first year, I would say, of Kevares, really, the support from Synergy was just difference between, not night and day, but basically the difference between the coffin or the coffee table. Because many people will try to predate you, many people will try to exploit you, many people will try to overcharge you, many people will try to sell your advisory, mentorship, or silly stuff that is kind of a shell that has nothing inside it, or even worse, has poison inside it. And you are clueless. You don't have elements to assess the thing. You're a baby. Whatever people give you, you're going to drink. So you need to have this kind of a nurturing environment. So not just a service provider, you know what I mean? So that's for us was paramount, or was really core for us, because we came across very decent people. We came across very decent connections. It's not just, pat in the back. It's not the case. It's business. It's savage. So you need to get the proper connection with a decent person that will eventually turn out to be business development, right? So that's where synergy value kicks in a lot, because it's not just, advisory, teaching you this and that, It's about transitioning you to a position that you're going to be ongoing operations. That transition is so short, but so exposed, so important. So that would be my point. Do not, by all means, take this small time frame for granted, because the risk is inversely high.
I'm hearing trust, I'm hearing support, I'm hearing family, connection, relationships, and community, yes.
That's the word.
I love that word. And that's very much so what
that's why we chose Canada.
That's what we're about, right? And Nick, behind the cameras, I'm seeing some marketing opportunities for a shoreline with a little turtle and some crabs, or alternatively, a coffin versus a coffee table. I think that we can really leverage that. Speaking of Nick behind the cameras, he told me a story the other day, and he joined you as you were pitching to the city of Toronto, and he was filming something, and he said it was raining cats and dogs and it was freezing cold, and he said, I even have the proof, because some of the footage that he shot, it's shaky because he's behind the camera just shivering his bones off. And I love that story. It made me giggle. But I know that that's something that you do often, not shivering, but presenting your company to potential investors or other interested parties. How is your product and your robot typically received when you do that? What's the initial kind of reaction when they see her in action?
I could talk about this question for 30 minutes alone. It's so profound.
Yeah.
I mean, it's real. Because, when you're thinking about, okay, let's create quantum fusion, or in this case, robotics, it's deep tech, right? So the market that you're going to position your deep tech product determines a lot of things, right? You can be freshwater fish or saltwater fish, right? Seawater fish. And those are fish, but are very different. And if you put one in the ecosystem of the other, it just dies, right? So with that, we could do, sexy and jazzy. We could do meal delivery. Those things that look like exponential the first day, like e-scooter. How many startups of e-scooters, large ones, scale-ups, have died or almost died because it's sexy, you deploy, and then there's what? There is the life cycle. There is making that profitable in scale. The problems of scaling, those things are very, very difficult to tackle. One thing is one small scale, another thing is the big scale. So with that, I am not feeling away from the question. What I'm saying is that Kevares, by definition, we have a motto. We like it boring. We like it boring. Boring is awesome. And it's so profound. We thought that in the inception of the company, and then you go out in the rain in the downtown Oshawa, and then you came across people, and then you came across even homeless people. And it's so natural that that day in Toronto, we were actually demonstrating for the city of Toronto. And we were privileged to have the support from the Synergy and Spark group of companies to have footage of that moment, right? And it was so heavy, the rain and the wind, that the dog robot couldn't walk. We needed to wait that. So that happens very often.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is that when I am in the street with the robots, doing sidewalk inspections in the downtown core of the city of Oshawa, with 2 or 3 different robots. There is one that looks like a kind of a fat-ass cooler with wheels, right?
Yeah.
That you can put your beer or stuff to do your camping. And there is another one that looks like a minefield dismantling robot, right? Kind of a bomb squad robot, something like that. And then people will ask you, what is that? People in the car.
Yeah.
The homeless.
Yeah.
Whatever. They will ask, what is that? Can I put my beer on it? The other will ask, is this going to arrest me? Or something like that, right?
Yeah.
And then I say, or we, the company, will say, this is a sidewalk inspection robot. This robot is scanning the city to detect deficiencies and inform those to the municipality so that the sidewalks basically are safer for especially, people with special needs, with seniors, to make the sidewalks safer for pedestrians. When we say that, you don't have any idea of how cool it is to see the change in the attitude and demeanor and the faces of people, because they will open this large smile. Wow, that's so cool.
Yeah.
Really, I love it. And even though the robot is still in the early days, right? Our platform, we are launching right now Mark II, and Mark II of Our Lady. We are going to get to know her. Is going to be slick. But our first iteration is like the birth of every living being, right? It's not beautiful, but it is still glorious on its not beauty, right? But people don't see the lack of beauty of the first iteration. They see the purpose.
Yes. Yeah.
And purpose is the thing. It's not the jazzy. It's not the sexy. It's not the appealing. It's the purpose.
Yeah.
When people see purpose, you connect with their souls. And that's very profound in our business. Changes everything, and we love to be boring.
There's so many good quotes. I feel like you should be taking notes back there.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm gonna I think I need to get you a crown because you're the king of analogies. Like the beginning of that, you even talked about saltwater fish versus freshwater fish. And I love it. It paints such a vivid picture in people's minds when you put it that way.
Yeah, it must be simple, right?
Yeah. No, I love that. So clearly,
Thanks for the compliment.
you're welcome. I'm just throwing them out like candy today. So you just make it easy. So clearly the reaction of people on the street when the robot's out and whatnot, this robot is quite impactful. So I think we need to maybe take the spotlight off of you for a second and talk about the robot. First of all, before I invite her into the studio, maybe you can introduce her to the people that are watching at home. I know that she has a name and there's a story behind it. So
Oh, yeah?
let's speak to that quickly.
Her name is Adelaide,
Adelaide.
and she is she.
Yeah.
Because women simply have a better eye to spot things. Simply because of that. They sniff, perceive, they feel, and they notice way better than men. That's why she's she. And she is Adelaide, named after Adelaide McLaughlin, that was the wife and probably the purpose of McLaughlin, of automotive industry of McLaughlin, that you ultimately turned into GM later down the road in Oshawa. Since Oshawa is our ground zero, right? The place that we came to life, and really sidewalk inspections is so to its first paid client is the city of Oshawa. Nothing more fair than marking to eternity if we survive more than a few years that the first robot was named after an Oshawa figure.
I love that.
Yeah.
And I love that she's a woman, and I love your explanation as to why she's a woman. That's just perfect. Again, everybody behind the camera should be taking notes on this. Joel is a wise man. Okay, so I'm going to invite Adelaide, into the studio and ask her a few questions. I'm going to get Joel to leave. And
No worries. A pleasure.
just so we can get some candid responses from her, and I'll invite you back in a second. So
No worries.
thank you so much, Adelaide, for joining us in studio today. So excited to meet you. I've seen you out and about, but don't often get the chance to speak one-on-one. So we've prepared a few questions to ask you. One of them being, Joel has officially left the room, by the way. So we wanted to ask you, first of all, what's it like working under Joel's supervision? Interesting. And obviously you're a robot, in case anyone wasn't aware. And as a robot, you're technically doing a human's job. What is that like? Oh man. Okay. So obviously, when you're doing your job and walking, do you walk? When you're rolling down the street, you get to interact with community members and people that are walking past. How do they treat you? Oh, obviously, there has to be a balance between work and play. At least I hope that there is. What kind of things do you like to enjoy in your time off? Yeah. That's good. Yeah. Cool. Nice. So I had the pleasure of speaking with Adelaide. What a pleasure that was. She was very interesting, had a lot to say. Back to Joel, spotlights on you. We've talked a lot about Kevares and your business and the robotics, and all of that is very interesting, but I want to step away from that for a second and just kind of talk about you and your story. And one thing that always sticks out to me is you're always cooking tasty treats in the kitchen. And anytime Joel has the opportunity to bring up how amazing Brazilian barbecue is, he takes it. We hear about that quite often. So I wanted to ask you, friend to friend, what's your favorite thing to cook?
Oh, it's hard. I will stick to what now is more often, which is a very Brazilian thing. It's called pão de queijo or cheese roll. Ooh. Cheese roll, it's a Brazilian treat or snack. It's actually was elected in a ranking, I think, 4th position of world's best breakfast snack. It's 5 positions ahead of croissant.
Oh,
French
wow.
croissant. And so cheese roll, it's a kind of a bread made out of cheese. Brazilians eat that very often. And in my house, it's every weekend. So Saturday is pão de queijo breakfast day. And it's a kind of a simple thing. So since I'm getting older, I'm being more and more appreciative of simple things and things that have its VIP and its fanciness in its simplicity. Yeah. And pão de queijo is one of those.
Well, that kind of goes along with your outlook on business. Keep it boring, right? Keep it simple.
Must be full of purpose and not jazzy picture.
You got it. You got it. Love that. Have you made those in the office before? I remember you making a cheesy something or other in the toaster oven.
I already baked them here. You usually bake. There is an electric oven. Yeah. And back in the day before COVID, I used it to bake them. I usually serve those in my meetings sometimes.
Nice.
So first meeting I did with Ivano Labriciosa, that is an advisor of Spark that we have the privilege to work with, was former CEO of Osho Power, Osho PLC. So the first time I met him in the office, I baked cheese rolls for him.
Oh, I love that. Well, I'm very much so looking forward to what's next in the kitchen. I always enjoy your treats. So
I will serve the next recording session, regardless of whoever that be. Pão de queijo will be.
Perfect. I can't wait. We better get it scheduled sooner than later. I'm kind of hungry now, actually. That's great. So you're passionate about where you come from, the food. Brazil is a beautiful country. I've never had the opportunity to go there as of yet, but I would love to. What's the one thing that you miss most from Brazil?
Definitely. It's hard. Many things, right? Family for sure. Yeah. I have very good roots there, still there. So I miss that. Definitely the culinary, right? Definitely. There is no such a thing as one culinary style of Brazil. Brazil has 26 states. Oh, wow. And you probably have easy peasy, like 12 to 14 completely different kitchen styles. Oh, wow. When you go to a region comprised of 2 or 3 states, it's going to be European. When you go to another one, it's going to be seafood. Another one will be the rainforest. So it's completely different. It's a very rich country. The only country that I remember by heart that's similar is Mexico. When you go to Mexico, completely different kitchen styles across the country. Yeah. So I miss that a lot. And I miss the people. Brazil has some amazing people. Yeah. Survivors. Brazilians in Canada, it's a powerful combination because it's like Spartans traveling to Athens, right? So it's easier to cut.
There you are with the analogies again. I mean,
I have an entire set of Greek that I use in the business, by the way.
I love that. I think that it's impactful. So as you should. So you left all of these amazing things that you just described, the food, your family, It's obviously beautiful to look at, the scenery. And at the beginning of our chat, you talked about why you chose Canada. The other day, I ran into you the other day, I ran into you in the kitchen, and you told me an interesting story about your coming to Canada. And I don't know if you're willing to share that or if you remember what it is that you told me, but I think you do remember.
Sure.
I think that is a very impactful thing to share with people that maybe were once in or are in the shoes that you were once in.
Yeah, so I have so many numbers and KPIs related to that story that I shared to you. I worked since I was 11 years old. It's when my career started for me. I come from a family that is very humble. My family faced fearful odds to just, move forward and survive. And Brazil, to that sense, obviously, it's an amazing country, has an amazing capacity, creative capacity, amazing market. I mean, it's 215 or 20 million people compared to Canada, that's 37 million people. So, in the other end, has 1/5 of the GDP per capita that Canada has. So, Brazil and Canada are kind of, complementary countries in the sense that one is asset intensive and the other is talent and human element intensive, which is Brazil, because of the magnitude of things. So with that, my journey is being overbuilt since when I was a kid. I could go on and on in terms of KPIs and stories. Like there was one story that in university, I need to hear like 245 no's before getting a yes.
Wow.
For a place to sleep. So that happened. I have the number. I won't ever forget. And when I arrived in Canada, I arrived with $4 in the pocket. And I have many on and on, but probably would be a longer conversation. I am cognizant of time. With that, I believe that I highly believe that you need to pick sides. No one should be in the middle. No one should be in the so-so, in the gray, in the kind of warm. You either hot and cold. Pick a side, leave a mark, do something, and probably with purpose. I strongly believe in purpose, in a life with purpose, in an existence of purpose, and doing business with purpose. I created Kevares with the purpose to allow a demonstration, if successful, that it's possible to be profitable doing good. It's possible to grow and do to the others what you would like to have done for you if you were in the opposite situation.
Yeah.
It's not about competition. It's not about winning in a zero-sum game. It's about everybody growing. It's about partnering and everybody succeeding. So probably with your question, if I believe affords a segue, is that, it is possible. Probably that's the purpose of me talking here. It is possible. And we should not ever listen too much what the world says to us. Because the mainstream message is that you cannot. The mainstream message is that you only can in the span of a consumption of a product that you acquire, a drug that you take, a pill that you swallow, something else, a relationship that you change, because this person doesn't work anymore to you, and you need to. So you keep hopping and hopping and hopping. and iteration is okay. But I mean, everybody can grow if they pick the proper place. And Canada was the proper place for me to accomplish what I was trying to accomplish since I was age 11. I plan to return a lot to my country, but I plan to return a lot for this country, Canada, that has received me so well and embraced me. And this community really was the reason why I chose Canada, for example, in opposition to the US or other places. So that's it.
Love that. Awesome. I think that's the perfect note to end on. Thank you so much for taking time out of your very busy schedule to chat with us today, you and Adelaide. Do you have any last words that either of you would like to share?
Purpose.
Purpose.
Purpose is essential.
Yeah, I think that's perfect. Purpose is essential. And Adelaide?
Hey, where are you? Hey, sweetie. Wait.
Okay, I'll let Joel to his searching for Adelaide. Thank you everybody for tuning in today. It was a pleasure speaking with Joel. I'll let him know that once I find him down the hallway. As always, if you're interested in staying in the loop with what's happening at Synergy Lab, please be sure to follow us on social media. We are on YouTube, obviously. We're on LinkedIn, we're on Instagram, and we'd love to have you there. Until then, take care and chat soon.